Well, it's 9 o'clock by the clock on the wall. Apparently that's the official county clock, so we'll call this meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This will take some getting used to being back in here again.
I found the place.
The first item of business is the approval of the agenda. We have the agenda before us. Any changes, corrections, errors, omissions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. Can we do just a?
Yep.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Look how much faster it is. Oh. All right, approval of the previous minutes from the board meeting June 1st.
They look good. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public comment. Who here has a public comment? Dave, we're going to get to Adam's deal at the discussion item. Is there anybody online that has a public comment? Like this, I can't tell how many people are online, so, okay. Hearing none, we will have our COVID update from Public Health. Morning, John.
Good morning. Dang, this feels good. Feels like things are right with the world.
Getting close.
Closer, you're exactly right. Okay, I don't have a lot of new information. I will tell you with regard to COVID cases, the number of cases in Houston County remain pretty flat. We've seen, onesie twosies for quite some time now. The state of Minnesota as well, if you look at the dashboard, I think we haven't had much more than 200 cases a day in the entire state for the last number of days. Those are real encouraging signs. With that said, there's always the caution of there are different variants that are still out there and how those impact individuals, how the vaccine impacts those. A lot of that story is still being written, but right now things are looking good. In our region, we have a very high rate of vaccination, and the state of Minnesota has a comparatively high rate of vaccination. For us in Houston County, our 16 and over as of yesterday was 69.5%. Our 65 and older is 99.1%. Total population is 50 and over is 66.5%. All of those percentages place us well in the top 10 rate in the state. And as we've talked about that, we're proud of that. I think it's a result of a real team and community effort to take us to that level of numbers. Obviously, our public health and human services staff have played a huge part in that, but we've used community volunteers extensively. We're grateful for all that our community has done to step up and support that effort. I also want to be clear that when we share these numbers, they're not indicative of just Houston County effort. There are other partners that are doing vaccine as much or more than us. Primarily, healthcare providers are playing a very large role. And while we don't see the huge demand for limited supply of vaccine that we saw in the first several months of the year, we're seeing a slow increase in the number of people being vaccinated, and many of them through their healthcare provider. So one last thing I'll mention about the data that you see on the dashboard. We were kind of confused and talked a little bit about it last week, and the fact that we were seeing some numbers changing around. As suspected, that's something, it's a result of something called geocoding. So I look at it, I don't know, my perspective is it's a good thing that we have a low enough number of new cases that we have time at a state level to kind of clean up our data. Geocoding says, you know, maybe this person was counted in this county, but really is residing in this one. Maybe this person was vaccinated here, and once we go through the MIC data or whatever, we determine that actually they live here. So that's why you're seeing some of this cleanup. We're seeing some of it across the river as well. I'm not as familiar with the Wisconsin Department of Health, but we're seeing some of that across the river as well as here. So if you see some of those numbers kind of bobbing around and percentages and things like that, I think that's what it's largely indicative of. I've been keeping track of kind of where our numbers are on an ongoing basis, and it's kind of unusual when you see that your numbers went down by a number of people. I'm like, how did we do that? And that's what it is. It's just making those adjustments to make sure that the data is accurate. So that's what I have for you this morning. Did you have any questions? I've sufficiently
This is the shortest
saturated.
report you've ever given.
I know. I've
In
sufficiently.
person is working on it.
There we go. See? So I've saturated the market with COVID information.
Glad things are going well and that the county is doing well and that the demand is going down. It's a good indicator of where we're at.
Indeed. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
We have a 9:30 closed session, so let's move forward to the consent agenda for right now.
Chair Burns,
Yeah,
may I approach?
sure.
Regarding the 9:30 closed session.
Yep.
Just so I respectfully request that that be removed from the agenda. The Personnel Committee met last week. We are waiting for information from DDA. That information has not come forth yet.
Cancel it.
No, I got a call in yet this morning again. But as soon as that information comes in, we'll meet as Personnel Committee, meet as closed session.
So yesterday, nothing? Okay.
Thank you. Sorry for
Personnel is
interrupting.
okay with that?
Yeah, they're just need to get
We had a
some
detail.
clarification, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So we are removing the closed session portion of today's meeting from the agenda. So the consent agenda. Hiring Dylan Felton as a probationary appraiser, confirming the resignation of Olivia Denny, approve the state of Minnesota and Houston County 2022 Sentence to Serve Agreement, and approve peddler's license applications for the three applicants, Reese Bohr, Joshua Loso, and Riley Smith.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. Motion made and seconded for approval of the consent agenda. Just a curiosity with regard to the peddler's licenses. Does that, remember we talked about the person that wants to come in and do chickens?
That's different though, it's not a peddler there. He's-
They don't need a license for something like that. Okay, that's all.
This, I was gonna ask, these are people who are doing door-to-door peddling? Is
Yep.
that kind of what
Yep.
that usually
Yep.
is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right.
This just has to do with insurance.
Okay,
Yep.
very good.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's people that, we used to get more of them, we don't get them as much from down south. Painters come around and paint buildings and stuff. So.
Painters and roofers.
Okay.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so that's what that's, yep.
Okay.
Very good.
So motion made and second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action items. Number one is approval of an IUP for Matthew Construction for a temporary bituminous plant in Spring Grove Township.
Good morning, Commissioners. So Matthew Construction is doing some projects on our county highways this summer, and so they were looking to set up a temporary bituminous plant in the underpass quarry over by Spring Grove. The Planning Commission voted to recommend approval to the board with 4 conditions: that the permittee complies with all federal, state, local laws and regulations. Second, that the county may enter onto the premises at reasonable times and in a reasonable manner to ensure the permit holder is in compliance with conditions and all other applicable statutes, rules, and ordinances. 3, that runoff from the plant footprint will be contained within the existing quarry floor, and 4, that the permit expiration will be December 31st of 2021. Does anybody have additional questions on this proposal?
I think we've done this in the past few years, so.
Every
Yeah.
year.
Every year.
I make a motion, we approve the IUP with the recommendation of the planning commission and the conditions set forth by the planning commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the IUP for Matthew Construction, including 4 conditions set forth by the Planning Commission. Further discussion? Should we vote by roll on something like this?
No.
No. No other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the approval of a conditional use permit for Joe Baxter for a non-farm dwelling in Jefferson Township.
Yes, so this is like a typical non-farm dwelling proposal. He's looking to, he has a 5-acre parcel that he's looking to put a home on. We did run into one hiccup as far as the way the deeds were written, and so at this point, he doesn't have legal access to his property, and so there was a 3rd condition added on to this one than what you normally see. And so what the Planning Commission recommended, our approval was 3 conditions. Again, that the permittee complies with all federal, state, local laws and regulations. 2, that the county can enter onto the premises at reasonable times and in a reasonable manner. And 3, that he gains us 33 feet of owned or easement access to the public road before any building permit can be issued. And I guess that would be a requirement prior, as it states there, prior to being able to issue a building permit anyway. But that is what the Planning Commission put forth.
I'll make a motion to approve it, the CUP for Joe Baxter.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the Joe Baxter conditional use permit. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the consideration of approving a conditional use permit for Matt Welch for a non-farm dwelling in Houston County.
So this is again, another non-farm dwelling. This one is in Houston Township. This one is contingent, or the sale is contingent upon the granting of a conditional use permit. And the current landowners, I guess, actually had received a conditional use permit in the past and just never followed through with the building, and so it has expired. The Planning Commission recommended that this one be approved with just the 2 standard conditions: that the permittee shall comply with federal, state, local laws and regulations, and that the county may enter onto the premises at reasonable times and in a reasonable manner.
Was there any discussion, Amelia, on the driveway for that parcel property?
No, I didn't. I personally didn't receive any inquiries from the township on this, and so we didn't discuss anything during the hearing on this.
Okay. I know I was on the township board when the current owner had wanted to build back there. And when they put that driveway in, it wasn't the way it was supposed to have been done. It's been working. It's quite unique on how they put that culvert in there, but I know that was a stickler in our crawl there for a while, but I guess if the township hasn't raised any concerns about it at the meeting, then it's a mute issue.
Yeah, we did not have any representative from the township at our meeting.
I will address this. I can't vote on this. This is my brother-in-law. But from the perspective of the driveway, I did talk with town board members with regard to the driveway because it doesn't have the 20 by 20 pad up on top in order to square away. So one of the conditions of purchase was that the owner had to fix that driveway so there's a 20 by 20 pad, which I haven't gone to look at it, but I was told that they did work on it to make the pad up on top where you approach onto Hop Hollow. They did make that bigger pad area for the access onto the road, onto the town road.
Commissioner, or Chair, I'd like to comment that if there's a chance to correct it, let's do it now. And I think, like Commissioner Johnson commented that it was an issue before, let's correct it when we can.
Right.
So in other words, it's corrected then if they put that pad up there.
That's what I'm told. He wouldn't buy the land unless
Yeah.
put the driveway pad the way it's supposed to be. Amelia?
And I had been out there too, and it did appear that there had been some work done on it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it sounds like it's being addressed. It was just that culvert issue it's kind of unique, but like I say, it's been working. So, I mean, if that pad is up there where they got that flat spot, that'll be a big improvement. I guess we could, I don't have a problem with proving that the way it is. I'll make that a motion to approve the Plan Commission's recommendations and conditions set forth.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Those opposed, same sign. I abstain because of family consideration. Motion carries 4-1. Next item, approving a conditional use permit for Will Gertis to operate a farm outlet to sell milk farm products in Caledonia Township.
So the Gertis family is looking to repurpose an old silo into a farm outlet, and then they're also doing another, or like a guest quarters above that is going to be dealt with as a zoning permit, not under the conditional use permit. And so this is just strictly to look at that farm outlet where they will sell milk, and then eventually they're planning to maybe add some additional products. And so after consideration, the Planning Commission has voted also to recommend that that the proposal be approved with just the two standard conditions: that the permittee shall comply with all federal, state, local laws and regulations, and that the county manager under the premises at reasonable times and in a reasonable manner. Does anybody have additional questions on this proposal?
I do have one question myself with regard to the sale of the milk. Is this raw milk or processed milk?
It will be raw milk.
So is there a health?
And they're working. They're working with MDA at this time, but I don't know that there's actually a specific licensure that they need in order to be able to do so.
See, you bring your own pail and you get your own milk, and you don't buy, all you pay for is the milk. You gotta bring your own pails or whatever you wanna put your milk in. They'll fill it up for you. They charge you so much for the milk. It's not pasteurized, it's raw, it's probably right out of the milk tank. That's kind of what they're doing.
That's what I was raised on.
I'm just,
That's good stuff.
That's how I was raised. The same thing. That's why I look
But
at
it is allowed, right, Allison? Do you know that?
In Minnesota, yes.
For raw milk sale. Yep.
It is allowed.
Yep.
Yeah, and I
Another
think we're
question.
covered if they pick up additional items where they would need some kind of food safety license. I believe we're covered under our standard conditions that they should be required to achieve whatever they need to in order to be able to sell these.
state regulations on that, yep.
They've been getting all the state regulations set up. They're doing a good job out there.
Any other questions or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Will Gertis UCUP.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is a consider, what, yeah, Amelia?
Oh, I was going to say thank you, commissioners.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the, consider accepting the quote from the Heating and Cleaning Solutions LLC for the pressure washer for the new highway shop building, $9,007.43. Brian is with us.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So we received multiple quotes on new pressure washer for our highway facility. This is the low quote that was received from Heating and Cleaning Solutions LLC out of Onalaska. So I guess any questions on this? What we're looking at doing is installing this above our hazardous materials room in our shop, pipe the plumbing over to the wash bay so we can pressure wash our trucks.
Is this a natural gas burned?
This one is, I better not answer
I
that.
think it is, isn't it, Brian?
I
I saw that,
Yeah, I
we were
know
looking at-
we talked about both the natural gas and then the three-phase electric and the
Well,
electric
then,
hookup and
okay.
stuff. So I believe that it is the natural gas, but
yeah, you still have to have three-phase electric to run it, but you gotta have gas for the burner, right?
I believe that it
Yeah,
still does have the
I think
gas in
it
the
is
burner,
natural
but
gas with three-phase electrical.
I thought if you put it in a ceiling, you're just absorbing the heat that came up from downstairs.
It would work that way,
Sorry.
but that's gonna be in the mezzanine, you said?
yeah, we're looking at installing it over that mezzanine area.
Looks like it's got all the specs here. I couldn't find that it was but I think that's probably what the way things are nowadays. The diesel's kind of gone out or fuel. I move to approve the purchase of the cleaning equipment, pressure washer.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Is this a budgeted item?
Yes, and this is under the original estimate that was in the quote from Weezer's.
So this was figured in.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the consideration of approving the change order request number 10 submitted by Weezer Brothers for the Highway Department building to provide an electrical vault basement below the main service transformer as the requirement of the electrical utility company.
Yeah, so this is a change order and increase in the building project cost, or, taking money away from the contingency account. City of Caledonia is the utility provider electric out there, and they require an electric vault underneath their transformer. Instead of having just a standard transformer pad, that it is required by different municipalities and stuff. A lot of them don't require it, so it was bid out without it. After it was bid out, it was determined that the city's going to require it. So we really don't have much of an option here. So we need to, I guess, approve this. So
Is this an outside transformer?
yes, this will be on the front side of the building, in front of the maintenance or the storage area. Transformer about 10 feet away from the building.
Is it because of the size of the transformer it requires a vault? The small ones don't have them.
Yeah, so the city, I guess I didn't hear directly why they're requiring it here and why they don't require it or haven't required it in other locations, but they have said that they are requiring it on this one.
So we're special.
Or maybe it's because it's a public building.
They're not telling us that this is anything unique to us. They're just saying that the transformer requires the vault, and this is part of the city's requirements, so.
Did I read somewhere the cost was gonna be like $1,700?
1570?
Yeah, 1570 for the vault, for the, most of it's the material, and then there's the contractor's 10% change order fee
Oh, yeah.
add on, which brings it up to the
So it's not a
1,727.
major change.
Not a major change, still a frustration on my end that we need to spend an extra
It's a
1,700.
better answer out of the city, and we kind of see what they really, why they have to do it.
You know, it's one of those things where utility companies dictate some things and you really don't have a choice sometimes. And, you know, I did push back as hard as I could on, you know, is this really necessary? Is this required? Can we just have a standard pad? Now the utilities coming into this, you know, they're coming in a couple 5-inch pipes on the bottom side, turning underneath. So it could be just how the wiring is all coming into this transformer.
Is that included in the 1,700?
Yes, this is the full, the installed price. So
Minus the change order, 10%.
So if we gotta have a vault, is there access to the vault, or you gotta take the transformer up to get into the vault?
I don't know.
I don't understand the point of a vault if you can't get to it.
Well, yeah, you think you'd
Yeah,
have to get in there for some time or something.
Well,
I
given
don't know
the
the-
price range, I would think that would not be a walk-in vault.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I haven't seen the spec, the detail on it. I know that the transformer have doors that are gonna probably face west out of above the vault area. Yeah, I mean, there's no steps going down to it, so I imagine
Can't
that
be
you
that
need to
big a
take
vault.
it off. No, and it's a fiberglass vault. It's gonna be, yeah, I mean, basically the transformer itself is 4 foot by 5 foot in rectangle shape.
I'm seeing
So-
this as just a vault term, or it's just a pad, of glorified pad, calling it a vault. I don't know about
With the
getting into
hollow,
it.
with the hollow bottom.
Hollow bottom
For the
drainage.
piping to come through to get into the transformer.
And is this waterproof so it doesn't fill up with water and blow up the city?
I'm sure it's gonna
You
probably
assume so?
I hope so.
I'm sure it's gonna probably fill it with
No
water.
more dumb questions from me.
But it just seems like it's one of those deals that if we're gonna have electricity there, they got us over a barrel, so.
Yeah.
I move to approve the change order for the vault, electrical vault at the Highway Department building.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion.
On the last Friday on the discussion, I was having a little trouble hearing, but that was because I was using my phone, but there was some talk about where that was gonna be. It was gonna be between the concrete and the pavement, or how was that?
Yeah, so the original plan had, so we had 2 things coming to the building. We have the electric coming into the building with this transformer area, and there's a gas meter that comes in, and the gas line ultimately is a 10-foot wide piping where you have 2 different elevations on the pipe, comes up, over, down, around kind of a different shape. The conversation is that there's some separations between the transformer and this gas and how it comes into the building. You need to have that transformer 10 feet from the building, and the concrete, I guess there's some concrete sidewalk, then there's the asphalt pavement,
Yeah.
comes up to within 8 feet of the building. So if you have the asphalt coming within 8 feet of the building, this transformer is obviously going to be sticking out
yeah.
into the paved area. So we were talking about the configuration of where the gas is going to be, where the electric's coming into the building. We actually flip-flopped how those utilities are coming into the building. I'm going to have the gas on the east side, the transformer on the west, still out of the way. We're going to pull the pavement back a little bit. It'll probably ultimately save us a little bit money in the end. It's pavement that it's not really usable space. It's not the main drive area. It's just pavement in front of window areas. So we kind of are going to pull that pavement back, get some more space for the transformer and the gas.
Okay, all right.
So,
And then they'll have protective pillars around that, I assume,
yep,
so
Yeah.
nobody runs it over.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
A couple bollards goes a long way. Well, I'll call the question. Any other discussion? Motion's been made and seconded for the approval of the request order number 10. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Two questions for you, Brian. First, do we have a scale included in the project out there?
A scale for like our
Or
truck
a truck
scale?
scale?
No.
We do not have a truck scale.
No.
Okay. All right. So if we ever did move, say, the waste recycle facility that we've got, we'd need a scale at some point in time. Okay. When we have our discussion items, can you stick around for a little while?
I can. I do have a phone call I'd like to step out and make, but then I'll be right back in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Brian. We're going to move on now to discussion items. And the first item I'd like to discuss is the Adam Agadal situation with regard to his building project down on County Highway 10. I've talked about this a little bit before. To do the construction, the initial lodge garage, when it was built, ended up that it was 1.5 feet below the base flood elevation. So that building has been too low, and Adam's been paying flood insurance on that for the last 4 years. Now this year will make it a 5-year. So he's paying the flood insurance. In order to build a new house, he wanted to attach it to this building that he had down there. Couldn't because of the elevation issue. Looking at different ways to resolve that, he hired G Cubed out of Chatfield to review the project and could not come up with a plan to get that building out of the floodplain, but could, if in widening and deepening the ditch that runs along County Highway 10, changing the driveway configuration, lowering the driveway so you can overflow if there is a major flood event, putting in new culverts and lowering the driveway, would drop that down. Prior to that, they were able to come up with an elevation for the new house separate from being built next to the existing building. So the house is under construction right now. Adam and Aaron were able to, G Cubed were able to come up with a plan to move that house that's closer to the base of the bluff. So move the house, move the septic, change the well configuration as far as water to the house. So the house is going up. Adam is of the opinion that the county has fault because when the elevation was established, the county sent the correct elevation to Adam, but it never got to the surveyor. The surveyor put in the elevation for the new building back in 2014 that was 1.5 feet low. Sent that information to the planning or to the zoning office and got a response, okay, thanks. So it's Adam's opinion that the county has fault as far as the building being too low. So he spent the money on flood insurance. He spent the money on hiring the engineer to come up with a plan to get the proper elevation. It's going to cost, based on an engineer's estimate, approximately $19,000 with excess material from the waterway to lower it so that it accommodates a major flood event. Then the driveway has to be lowered to accommodate overflow in the case of an event. The driveway lowering would be about 2.5 feet. I think Adam was adamantly against that initially, but after talking to the engineer, is accepting the lowering of the drive as long as the slope from County Highway 10 down to that driveway, then back up to his property, isn't so severe that he can't get in and out without, banging the trailer or something. So it needs to be an average slope. And I talked to Brian, and it can be done at less than 12% grade so that it isn't a severe grade. So the question is, what is the county's opinion as far as what we would participate in the repairs? There's $19,000 to do the ditch work, and some of that elevation is caused because of materials that were hauled in there from previous floods events in '08 and '07. And then it's $33,000 to do the driveway reconfiguration and the concrete work as far as up and over in the new culverts. I do not know, I know he's paid, I think it's $5,500 a year for flood insurance the last 4 years. And I don't know what is involved with GQ. David?
There is no culvert down there. It's just a drive-through. They tore the culverts out. It just has like a spillway.
Cement slab.
There is no culvert.
Okay.
Now, you mean, right now, there's no culvert.
Right. There is no culvert. They had trouble before with the culvert. It would plug up.
Yeah,
The brush and would flow around the sides and wash it out.
yeah.
So he had his expense stored out, dug it out, just put a spillway so it was natural water flow through there. So there is no culvert. You keep talking about a culvert. To be removed, there is no culvert.
Yes, I believe that there are two culverts, I believe, probably 18 inches in diameter. They are plugged, they're small.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, they are plugged, I think the outlet might be plugged completely, the outlet, you can see them, but they're not functioning
Yeah,
culverts.
they're not. There used to be big culverts there and they would plug up and do that.
So there's culverts that are non-functioning at the present time. But the idea is that when you lower the grade of the ditch, you also have to lower the grade of the culverts, put in the new culverts at the proper elevation in order to drop the driveway, and then put the concrete up and over so it doesn't wash it out, concrete on both sides and on top, as well as up the sides so that it's like it creates a flowway for the water to go over.
Would there be culverts actually put back in there then?
That's what I'm understanding.
There wouldn't have to be, but I mean, that's something.
I think you need to have the culverts because if there's any kind of a flow, you need minor amounts of water someplace to go so it doesn't swirl around and eat away. And you have that 2 foot of water sitting next to the driveway.
But, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Eric.
So this is a private driveway.
Yes.
We wouldn't have to require what they have in there, would we? I mean, Brian, this isn't within the right of way of the.
No, it's outside the right of way.
Their own property.
Say, this is Adam. The state is going to have issue, and they are going to want you to do that correctly because that's the unnamed tributary serving Beaver Creek. So you can't just excavate in a stream or a creek without the state. They won't even permit that.
The question being whether or not there has to be a culvert at all. But if the driveway.
Right. I think with that report and what G-Cube did for me, and he came up with those 3 ideas, I think there has to be a culvert in there. In that discussion I had previously with the state and G-Cube and the county, we had a real long discussion one day, and at the end of that, it was, yes, culverts, banks, 3 foot sides. I don't know. It sounded like an enormous undertaking. Also, if we disturb more than an acre of land, we need some special permit from the DNR, and it really snowballs on us here.
Well, yeah, because the wetland, you need to get a wetland permit to mess around in there.
Would the ditch be considered wetland?
Tributary.
Yeah.
Could be a
Yeah,
tributary.
it is.
Okay.
I'd also like to remind the county, and this is, when they redid that bridge on County 10, they took that 1-lane bridge out down past the Denstead's property. They took that grade of that County 10 down about 25 feet. They cut that hill, took the roadway down. They started at my driveway and started dumping loads of that fill down into that dry run. They must have dumped 100 loads or more in all of that. What the county dumped down there is what ended up in my driveway.
Hence, that's the reason it has to be excavated back out and widened.
You're right. That's why it has to be all cleaned back out.
And that's the $19,000 estimate that Brian gave us as far as doing that.
Sure.
Then there's the $33,000, which is the lowering of the driveway, putting in the culvert, and all the concrete necessary to make it so.
Right. I guess what I'm looking for here is the county, you know, I want to work with the county on this, but I want the county to make it right. Ultimately, the county permitted, you know, a non-conforming structure. And I hired the right people, I did the right things, I did all the things, I did all the steps, and here I sit, paying for all of this and not moving forward. What I would like is you guys to figure it out, work with the state, come back to me, and just fix this driveway. And then that building will be conforming again and come out of the floodplain. Because right now, that building I built in 2014 is completely worthless. It's actually a liability. So I need that building, you know, and I'm really looking for the county here to help me and kind of lead the way on it. I've been spending more time and money on this than I ever could have ever imagined, and I'm really looking for you guys to help me, and let's get this resolved and get it done yet this year. Because what my fear is too, is this is going to drag out into next year. So I'm going to have my new house, all my landscaping done, everything new, and then I'm not even going to be able to get to my new house because we're redoing the driveway. I'm going to have to put some sort of walking bridge in or something. So, you know, I'm asking everyone here for help, I guess, and I want to work with you. I don't want to go down an ugly path here, but I am willing to go down that path also. I guess that's my 2 cents.
My question or comment is that at the beginning of the presentation by Chairman was that the county provided some elevations, and somewhere between providing those elevations needed and construction, something was missed. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it is. It is. The ball got dropped between the county zoning and the surveyor that I had hired.
Okay.
And, yep, you're accurate.
But the surveyor had the wrong number, correct?
The surveyor had the wrong number. Basically what he did, and, you know, on a topographic map, there's lines, and in between the lines, he went to the lower elevation number. You should always go to the higher elevation number. Well, he went to the lower elevation number because, say, the 790 line is right like at my house. The 793 line is 1,300 feet to the east. So it's not prorated at all. So there's those, you know, well, actually, I think it's the 789 line goes to the 793. So there's 4 feet. It rises 4 feet over 1,300 feet. So if I cross 6 inches into that east of that 789 line, I would have had to build at the 793, which is actually 1,300 feet up the valley. So I get why Joel did that, because he used common sense, which when you're dealing with, you know, governments, we can't do. We got to do concrete stuff. And so I get where he screwed up there, but I guess that's just kind of a little history on why he used the wrong number, or why I believe he did.
Someplace along the line, the correct number was put out there.
It was. DNR, they sent it to Scanlon February 5th, 2014, telling him it's 789, but because it's not precise, they recommend going at 790. Then Scanlon did send that surveyor saying it should be at 791. So that happened back in February of 14. Thorson, you know, so, and then it was back in July of 14, then Thorson emailed Scanlon saying that base flood elevation 788.5 and the top of the floor is 789.7. And that's when Scanlon said, okay, or thanks. He didn't say yes or no, or he said thanks, you know. And then I got my LOMA from FEMA, which is the, whatever, that letter of whatever to readjust my height. So, and I know that if the county board members had a chance to read that Augadall report that G-Cube did, it points out a lot of errors at the state level too with those flood maps. So,
That's what I was.
yeah, there's a lot of errors in there, and I'm not smart enough to, they're educated on that enough to really go into that or what those errors are. But it reads pretty good. I know I know Bob's got a copy of it. I don't know who else does, but it's a pretty good read, and it does point out all of those state errors. So it isn't just errors at the county level; it goes beyond that. I mean, and yeah, does my surveyor have some fault in this? Of course, I get that, but I don't. And if the county wants to take recourse on my surveyor, that's in the county's interest, not mine. And I'm sure he's got insurance for that also. Errors and omissions.
Here's the deal. The county isn't going to go after your survey.
Okay.
County will decide, you know, what, if any, we're going to, you know, participate as far as that's concerned on correcting this. It'd be up to you to have to go after your surveyor because you're the one that paid him, not us. So he's your contractor. The question is, how much of the responsibility for this is the county willing to show?
Right. Yeah, yes, exactly, Bob. You're exactly right. And I guess that's what I'm waiting to hear from you guys. Like I say, I want to work with you on it. I'm willing to pay for the G-Cube. I just got his invoice actually last night. That was $14,900. So which I'm paying. So I got 15 grand tied into that. I've got the 22,000 plus in flood insurance. I've got the I couldn't attach my new structure onto that existing one, so it's costing me 2/3 the amount of money I would have had to spend to put an addition on that structure. I've incurred a lot of damage here, and I'm willing to pay for some of that. I really am. I mean, if the county would fix this driveway, I'm fine with. I mean, I will come back at anyone for the flood insurance I've paid and for the G-Cubed and any other damages. I just want this to be done and we move forward. And at the beginning of this, and even now, I mean, common sense should come into play a little bit. I've been down there since 1999, and you read this flood report, and it'll kind of describes, you know, how you determine and how the state determines those, or FEMA determines those flood maps and those elevations. And so one of them determinations is them talking to the local people. And not one person has asked me if it's flooded down there. And it hasn't, and it never will. There's no way it will. I mean, the Denstead's basement to the west of me, he's 23 feet below my grade, and he's not in the floodplain. So it's really strange to me that, you know, we're all just spending a bunch of money for nothing in my eyes.
David, you wanted to make a comment.
I got better things to do with be here. We started this last July, we applied for the permit in August. You have all the emails. You actually came down that one day, and I had Mr. Andy Litchins come down and make damn sure that when we hired Joe Carson, we actually paid him. Because Bob Scown says you need to get a licensed surveyor in here, give us the elevation, shot it in, next day Adam's garage. We put it in, and then for $800 more, he came back and shot it in again to make sure we were right. And he sent that information off to Mr. Scanlon. Mr. Scanlon says, "Thank you, Joel. I have the email actually in my thing here," and he issued us the permit. We built it, like Adam said, we did everything we were supposed to. We applied for this permit last August to build onto it, because we wanted to just tie it into that. Built this 4,000 square foot house, which is going to be property taxes for them down there. And the whole time that we did this, Mr. Scanlon never once came down to view the site. We were the first guy from the county that ever came down, and that was 6 years later. So he should have never issued that permit. Like they said, someplace the ball got dropped. It might be the DNR, it might be the state, it might be the surveyor, but Adam did everything. Adam is not a licensed surveyor. I am not either. We went by what they told us to do. The biggest thing that I have, biggest problem I have, is that a $550,000 structure. I talked to all you guys here when this COVID thing was going on the phone, give you our input that it might go into litigation, which he said he might go down that route to get that done. The biggest thing I have is he has to tear it down and get it up the elevations that cost upwards of over $500,000 for sure. Biggest problem is we're going to start this in August, and us as a business, we have a timetable apart for that. So we had lost the income because that was like 4 or 5 months work for us. So we lost that. The biggest thing now with Adam is, I don't need to tell most of you guys if you listen to the news, the construction costs, framing materials gone up 300-400%. So he's sticking another 140, 160,000 extra into this house just because he's going to build that. So this is going to balloon into a lot. This could end up in the Minnesota Supreme Court if we don't get something straightened out. And he sounds like he's ready to work with it. I'm a little bit too old to be going through all this. We've done this for 51 years of construction. I've never seen such. And Mr. Lackner, when he took over this thing, all he did was keep pushing us off and pushing us off. I had recorded statements with him and your city administrator, and they're both on now. But I had recorded him, and he said, yeah, we're going to take care of this. We're going to take care of this. And this is where we are now, 10 months later for nothing. So I think that Adam is being reasonable. If we can come up with a solution and take care of this so it doesn't go to court, then it's going to get up. And he will not only be involved with it, Bob, we will be involved.
Sure. But and I had my conversation with Adam the other day.
Yeah.
You can take anything you want to court.
Yeah.
Would you win or would you lose? Hard to say. As you look at the chronological order, there was a correct elevation that was issued. It's the wrong elevation. The email said, okay, thanks. Doesn't say one way or the other, and I know he didn't go down and look at the site. You take a chance when you take it to court.
Doesn't the permit issued state yes? I mean, that's insinuating yes, where you did the right things, here's your permit.
Yeah, that's the thing. The last time they had the catching was right before that permit position. That was when it took it. And that is Houston County's own problem. If they had a building inspector that would have came down and said, no, this is not right, they would check into all of that to make sure these elevations were up to date. This was, I don't know if Bob Scanlon was overwhelmed or what happened, but it never got done. And the last thing that was done was if it would have been stopped then, it would have been fine. There was no work done on it at all. And we had to fill up the grade and we had the thing, and we had the emails, and then our permit. So that was the last chance they had to take. That's the thing that's the 2 feet first time now. And that's actually, that's why we have to pay these fees to the zone, just to make sure they have it correct. Not correct. And like you say, we can take it to court.
Right.
It'll get pretty ugly.
So it's
That's
our
all I
plan.
need to say. And I would like to see what settle this with Adam, so, because like he says, he's gonna walk through his house when he gets it done.
Well, that's
Well, the driveway is still in place, right?
Pardon?
The driveway is still in place.
Yeah, it is now, but like you said, if we're starting construction, I'm just gonna get across there and tear it all up.
And then on my conversation with Adam, the house, maybe November before they move in,
Yes, it probably will be, nothing, you can't
We-
order anything good of it.
whatever happens as far as the driveway, it can't be done this year anyhow.
It won't be, no.
It'd have to be next summer, so they'd be in. And then there'd have to be some accommodation as far as that's concerned to get access to the house. I don't think they'd have to tear up the driveway to do the ditch work. It's just the removal and replacement. There'd be some days of inconvenience there.
It would be the access we're getting in, is the only thing.
Right.
All that fill that's in below his driveway there, that was dumped in by the county, that could be taken out.
Yeah.
Go straight out.
Above can be taken out, below can be taken out. The driveway would have to be worked
The
separate.
same thing happened with that property that Mr. Klinsky had out there, he put all that fill in. Out there, Randy Klinsky on that, out in the Green Acres edition, you gotta tear that all off too.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Well,
So, this is discussion. It wasn't on the agenda, so we cannot vote on it today. Because it has to be on the agenda, but I wanted to discuss it so that everybody understood where we were at, what the circumstances were, what the general costs are of everything. I mean, there's the flood insurance, there's the G cube, there's the removal of the ditch and then the fix of the driveway. And then now it's up to us to decide what, if anything, we're gonna do as far as resolving the issue. But Adam, we cannot vote on this today because it's not on the agenda. It was a discussion item. So it'll be the next meeting when we can make it official what we're gonna do.
I would say that you need to talk about yourself and decide what you want to do and approach Adam and tell him what you would like to do before the.
Right.
That's kind of what he's.
We can't discuss this amongst ourselves
gotta-
outside the meeting.
No, it must be here.
No, that's against,
Open meeting law.
open meeting law would be violated. That's why we're doing it now.
Apparently you've never been at a round table where they had coffee.
We won't admit to it,
I'd rather have it that way.
Thanks for
but Adam, are you still on?
Yeah, I am. Yep.
Would, Brian, is that bridge up there, is that under consideration for replacement soon?
Yes, the bridge above, up County 10.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's up on the north portion of Adam Agadal's property. There's a bridge that we're gonna need to acquire some land and potentially straighten out a curve a little bit to replace that.
How far
So-
down will that bridge be?
What's it?
How far down from the original spot will that be? you think?
I think ideally we would move the bridge where we build just on the south side of that existing bridge. So you move the whole road, maybe 30 feet, where you can build the new structure next to the existing one, then you transfer that traffic over and move the other one. That will take some build to do that. Whether the material in the existing ditch up there that's been placed material from a couple decades ago is suitable to use for that or not, I don't know. But we are gonna need to acquire land and some build to get it.
So Adam, what I'm getting at is that we'd like to work with you on acquiring some land to move that bridge over and build a new bridge, and we'll clean up that ditch. I'm just talking for myself here, but then we could use some of that fill for the construction purposes. I mean, this is the thing I'm getting at, that we want to work with you on this. Are you willing to do that as well? I know you have said you have.
Yeah, Eric, of course. Yeah, that's all sounds great. Yes, ideas coming out of the county are wonderful to me. Yep. And yeah, that land, it's $275,000 an acre.
Now, Adam, I said you were willing to work with us now.
No, I'm kidding. So, but yeah, of course, Eric. So yeah. When is that on the books, or does that bridge have to deteriorate to a point where it has to not pass inspection before it can be replaced, I guess? I don't know how that works.
So it is very close to being eligible to replace right now. We could probably replace it anywhere from 3 to 5 years from now. Be able to utilize our funding source of redominant local money to replace it. Does it need to be replaced in 3 to 5 years? No, we could have that bridge stay in place and keep wall posting down and keep using it for 20 years.
Sure.
So, but if we can.
So this is going to coincide at all then?
It is on our 5-year plan to replace it in that 3 to 5 year mark. So putting fill in a couple years before the replacement is not a bad thing.
So it won't get done next year. It will be.
No.
I don't think it's eligible yet to be replaced. Actually, I know it's not. We only have 2 bridges.
So we could move that fill up towards that proposed future.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there storage room there?
Yes. Yeah. So the existing road right now, when you go to the south of the roadway, it's a pretty substantial drop off to the adjacent field and waterway. So ultimately we want to bring that up to the same elevation or a little bit lower than the existing roadway. Then the roadway would get built and you bring the last little bit of base and pavement on top.
I'm thinking out loud. And from what I've been hearing here, and this is all new to me, but I'm trying to visualize that if the ditch is cleaned out, which was a number of $19,000, reshaped, widened, and so on, and this new driveway built with culvert and spillway type of design, does that get him out of the floodplain? That's the way I heard. That's the way I heard it. Okay. And so I think the dirt being placed there back 10, 12 years ago or more now should be looked at. I mean, if you give us some ideas as to cost so we can make a decision and then look at something on the driveway. It's just throwing out food for thought, in my opinion. I'm not voicing a vote or nothing. Something to look at. I think there were some errors. Well, the old term of comedy of errors, and this is not a comedy. It's something that we need to do what we can to correct what happened from getting the wrong number to somebody who decided to move and use another survey line and so on. I'm not a surveyor or engineer or nothing like that. It's just that let's see what we can do to correct the comedy of errors.
I got one suggestion, I guess. I don't know, but I would think that we should maybe hook up with Soil and Water and have them go down in there and see if they can work with the DNR and the state, all 3 of them together. Maybe they could get that so we can widen it out, maybe put up some push-up dams. Maybe we can defer the water a little bit so we can take them out of flood elevation. It's just an idea.
Well, the thing is,
we don't have
that should have been done before they had G-Cube. G-Cube's already done all the engineering.
But they set up any plans. They got any plans to do.
Yeah.
So that was one.
Do they have any plans, Adam? I mean, engineered plans on, I assume so, don't they, or?
I don't know if they're full-blown engineered plan. In that Ogdenal report, yeah, there are 3 options of how to correct the issue, and there are plans in there on how to do it with a narrative.
Well, the only reason why I was thinking Soil and Water, maybe we can tie this into this rescue money. Somehow, I don't know.
Well,
Just a suggestion.
What do we want to direct our Brian to do? What kind of numbers can he help us with? I think, have you ever seen this GQ report that Mr. Ogdenal had?
Yep, so I received that report, I reviewed it, the numbers that Chairman Burns read earlier, they came directly from me.
Oh, that came from that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so those are the numbers. So, the numbers of that soil will be removed from the ditch, if that can be moved up and utilizing the right of way, then there's a double benefit for the landowner and the county. Is there maybe better material, but also for that project, potentially. The driveway lowering, that does not benefit the roadway. But I also have met out there with the DNR. The Army Corps might have been in the meeting myself. I don't know that. So Water was there that day. They were going to be. So we've had a meeting out there. Once previously looked at the site, walked up that ditch. Past history with that fill in that ditch, that was before my time. I don't know anything about that material that was there other than it supposedly came from one of the county's projects when a bridge was replaced downstream. But I haven't seen that site. And like I said, I've walked it with the DNR. We've talked about some of the permitting, talked about the potential solution We did not talk about who's paying for what. We just talked about kind of what could be done and what would be allowed.
And they are, the current DNR administration is accepting the plan and approving the plan as laid out currently to get that building out of the flood.
Yes, the one I'm hearing, the DNR is willing to go along with the plan to lower the ditch. They do not want some of the other options that were presented to be approved, but to lower the ditch and lower the driveway, the DNR is on board for that. The permitting that was mentioned before, as far as disturbance over 1 acre, that's just a standard construction permit. That's not a high dollar permit or a difficult permit to achieve or to get. That's a fairly straightforward permit. We get that on many projects. Wetland impacts. If there's any wetland impacts out there, which I'm not sure there is, would be pretty minimal, and I would think that would be an issue here to get.
It's hard to call it dry creek bed, dry run. Wetland.
Yeah, that's what I'm just thinking top of my head of where the wetter areas are to have the wetland vegetation in there, and I don't know if there is, but I haven't been that closely.
Well, my issue is with that dry run being called a public water. I think I think DNR went over their determination there on that.
There's a lot of public waters that are dry. There's a lot of non-public waters that are wet. It's just the regulations. And then there's also the distance and the location of contributaries to trout streams or to other public waters that also affects the inner permitting. So just how stream.
So if you went trout fishing in that dry run without a fishing license, could you get a ticket?
You're not going to catch your game.
Yeah, first you have to catch
It raises a point. You had a line in there.
I've had a lot of different discussions on the DNR in the past on what's discussions as far as when we need a permit, what we don't need a permit, and what's public water and what's not. We're not going to change that definition and what they require as first permits.
And this has come up in natural resources, the policy committee at the AMC, DNR inventory public water maps. And it's been controversial, and they've been trying to get that curtailed and whittled down to where it's more common sense like. So I know it's an ongoing discussion up at the state level.
Sure.
We'll change it.
It ain't gonna change the fact where what we're dealing with now. But I myself, and I'm just speaking for myself, I think we should should find a way to work with Adam on that ditch area that was put in, Phil from the county. The driveway part, I'm on the fence on. I don't know how to work that out, whether to pay for it all or partial or what, I don't know. It's a private driveway.
But we could start with removing the fill.
And I'm all for that,
That would
getting
help
that part
begin
done.
with.
But we need to have more discussions with Adam on this and more sit downs to negotiate that and hopefully work out a situation to purchase that land for that bridge, but we're not going to pay $275 an acre. But
I got a little wiggle room.
that's good.
Well, this is a discussion item right now, so we know the numbers, we know what his situation is, we know their argument, which is a good argument. It's a question of what we decide to do. I think you guys all got to take it home with you, and then for the next meeting, we can come up with a number. I'll go back and talk to Adam for the bottom line and see what he says. I got a suspicion, but I'll bring that information back to you as well.
Well, yep, let's keep talking.
Maybe we can get the creek wide enough and lower it down enough we won't have to mess with it. You don't know that until we try. You don't know.
for sure. The DNR has stated that they need to have that overflow so that the water, if there is an event, can get out of there.
Needs to be lowered.
It has to be lowered so that the water can go over.
So
I don't think there's any change to the design on that.
So Adam, if they lower it the way they say, is that gonna be an extreme dip, or is that gonna you're gonna try to build that gradual?
It would be an extreme dip, because, I mean, if you're talking low, because I got that concrete poured in there over the culverts that are laying flat, I mean, that would all have to come out. I don't know that I could get a ATV through there probably, but I don't think you're taking a Ford Taurus down there or anything.
Well, the whole idea being that you'd start up at County Highway 10 and graduate the slope. I'm talking to Brian.
Yeah, but there isn't much room there, Bob, from the west where that driveway starts to where that dry run crosses to the east. It's 40 feet, 50 feet maybe at the most. And elevation change from 10 down to the bottom, that's got to be 13, 14 feet at least. You know, you stand down there, that driveway, that County 10's way over your head. Then imagine taking 30, 36 more inches out. So I don't know if you're going 50 feet, down 15, do the math. We'd have to move the entrance of the driveway back to the west, which would require a easement from my neighbor, which would be fine, I'm sure. And then the county too, I don't know, because that driveway would kind of turn in the county right away, and I don't understand how that works, or who would provide that easement. I still think the landowner probably, but. So, in my opinion, that driveway, like I say, that entrance would have to move to the west a little ways, which would be fine to me. So the grade wouldn't be as much.
Give you more length.
Yeah, exactly.
Brian?
We can pull up LiDAR information or survey that driveway if needed to see exactly how long that driveway is and what the new slope would be. I do think that it could be lowered down 2.5 feet without causing a drastic issue with coming in and out where you could get a Ford Taurus in and out. But it's one of those things until you survey it, you really don't know exactly what the slopes would be. But looking at it, maybe there is room to lower it. The tougher part, I think, is probably going to be from the water crossing to the shed, getting back the existing garage door. But even with that, I think there's room.
There's quite a bit of room there, but I don't know. At any rate, maybe everyone get a copy of that report that G-Cube did, because it's been, and read that. It explains all this really well.
We'll make a copy. I'll get it to everybody.
There you go.
Driveway ends in the east. Change the driveway altogether. And we change the,
To go above that'd be,
The road's way higher.
yeah, that's quite a bit of height.
Pretty bad. Brian, you got that copy, right?
Yes.
We'll make copies for everybody. Well, this is where we're at. I'll stop and talk to you, Adam. We'll talk about
Yeah, thanks.
driveway again as far as the grade. And then get the report to the board members, and then we'll discuss and see if we can come up with a number or an answer at the next meeting.
Sounds good. Yep, thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. I'd like to come out and look at it too sometime. Maybe if I give you a call when you're available, we could do that.
Yeah, anytime. That works, Eric.
All right, thank you.
All right. Not together.
Yeah.
One-on-one.
Okay. So that was the discussion I wanted to bring up. Board updates, commissioner reports. Now that we're sitting here, we can start with.
Actually, not much going on in the Northeast County. The One thing I will comment too, in 2 weeks, I'll be attempting to attend by Zoom. I'll be in Pennsylvania on a mission trip, so I'll give you a heads up on that. But otherwise, with the city of La Crescent taking care of all the problems, I don't get any. So that's it for now.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Julie, you might want to connect with Amy on attending via Zoom in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then, just so everybody knows, when it isn't COVID, you can only attend via Zoom 3 times per year.
Okay.
Is the rule. I just found that out, so.
Yeah.
Just as an FYI.
Thank you.
They're working on that.
Yeah. It may change.
Legislation. I don't have a whole lot either. Attended the meeting yesterday, regional AMC district meeting. I left early, but got to hear all the county reports. It's interesting to me to hear what the other county reports. We're all in the same boat. Had a lot of the same problems as far as obtaining help, retaining help. And they were all advertising, they're looking for this position. Anybody know anybody, and stuff like that. So, so it isn't just Houston County, it's in that they're all in that boat. But it was a good meeting, interesting, a lot of stuff. They did talk about, and you guys can elaborate on it more, that you and Bob and Teresa, the uses of rescue plan dollars. Still isn't a lot of information out there and what we can and can't use. I did bring up and ask the question of, could this be used for some soil and water projects as a clean water initiative? Because that isn't, it's kind of vaguely talks about clean water projects, but he gave me the impression that, yeah, it's a little touchy. They didn't know if that would be allowed, but stay tuned. There'll be more coming. So, so all in all, and I did have an HRA meeting during that meeting. It was only 5 minutes long, so it wasn't a lot of discussion. And we just basically approved finances and stuff like that. So we didn't have a lot of discussion. It was a short, sweet meeting. So nothing to report on there. That's all I got.
Took him longer to pack his stuff up and walk out of the room and back into the meeting.
Yes, and Teresa and I were at that meeting yesterday as far as District 9 AMC. The thing that's concerning is when MCIT gave their report, different claims that are being made and the increase in claims because of COVID having a bearing on it, and the racial tension that's going on in the state of Minnesota, and what the effect that it's having on law enforcement personnel, their PTSD issues and whatnot. She's got tremendous number of claims that are being filed. And because of COVID, they aren't getting done as fast as they'd like because of the distancing and stuff. But there's more claims coming. So insurance is going to be an issue as far as the state and the county and whatnot is concerned, all the counties. So it's just a little upsetting to listen to all the different things that she was talking about that we could be facing in that regard. The other two things that I'll report on, we had our community health meeting as far as this morning with the veteran service officer and with human services. John was here and gave his report. Veteran service is going well, but extremely busy. That with COVID starting to settle down, the people are coming back out, and he's getting inundated with people coming in looking for service, looking for help, veterans looking for service, looking for help and whatnot in that regard. So there's a lot there. We also talked about needs that his department has His desk, he said, is old enough it could drive. Maybe even old enough it could vote. And it's the old kind of desk that was made for the big computers, and it's screwed to the wall, so they can't make any changes. They can't do anything in their office as far as reconfiguration. So if there was some way we could figure out to do different furniture, that would be a good thing as far as he's concerned. And then I went to Hiawatha Valley last night, or yesterday afternoon. It ended up being over last night. Lots of things going on there as far as that's concerned, and their expansion. One thing I found interesting, they're going to hire somebody to go out. When Winona County and Olmsted County are doing something as far as, when we were at the District 9 meeting, they're having people that they're hiring to go out with the police to help reduce the situations with mental health issues on those kind of calls. Hiawatha Valley is hiring somebody to do the same type of thing with 2 people, but they don't go with the police. They'll just go independently. And that made me a little nervous that if they don't, you don't know what you're going to get into when you go out there by yourself, even if you're experienced, because you don't know what level of degree. So there was a lot of discussion in that regard. Otherwise, one other thing that I wanted to ask everybody, when we talked about attending the meetings after the Zoom or after the COVID deal, the emergency thing was over, and we were allowed to go to Zoom only 3 times a year. But I was told that if you do a Zoom, you got to advertise that you're going to be doing it by Zoom and that your home becomes a public site. I never heard that before. But they told me that if I'm at home doing a Zoom, because I can't attend in person, I have to advertise that I am at home doing that, and that people can come to my house to attend the meeting because it's an off-site of the regular meeting. Tess is over there nodding her head yes. So.
I sat on a public board, and that we learned that a couple of years back that absolutely if you're attending my Zoom outside of COVID, that's the case. So if we happen to be, if I want to set up that meeting here, I have to have people accessible to my office here. Or if I were to attend that meeting from my home, I have to advertise and let them know that my house is the location should they want to come and view that as a public meeting.
So Dewey is going to be pretty far away.
Mm-hmm.
We're still in Zoom, but I mean, if he's far away, a couple of states over, you got to advertise that that's where he's at so people can go and join
People
him.
know where he's at.
Yeah.
But this is gonna,
Practical matter, so.
Yeah, practicality.
this
I
will,
mean, currently we're advertising that due to COVID, you can attend via Zoom and here's the link. So I don't know, that might be close enough to that time. I don't
But the way I understand it, sounds like post-COVID versus current COVID
Yeah.
issues. So
In Dewey's case, I think it's a practical matter. It's this thing is out of state of this location. Meets the burden.
and it's before July 1st, right? July 1st is the cutoff
July
or
1st. That's what they're hoping to
extend it.
address it, yes.
So after that, if I call in and say I can't attend in person, I got the flu, come on down. Come to my house if you want. The flu.
That statute, those rules were made long before Zoom, so
Yes.
I suspect that
Yeah.
supplying them with the link to have access to the public meeting without permission. Because it used to be that folks would, on a public board, be able to call in by telephone, but then there was no other public access for that. So I'm thankful that would change that catch up.
Yeah, that has to be readdressed because that was way back when people would go to Florida or Arizona for the winter and then call in for their meetings. And that's when they started addressing it. Your places, you are now part of an open meeting. Your neighbors couldn't come and sit with you.
Yep.
I think that's really being addressed by hopefully the legislator. But July 1st right now is a new date.
Yeah, I think for now, I'll just write in the minutes that you'll be attending out of state.
That's enough notice, should be.
I think so because we have the Zoom link still available for people.
Okay.
But everyone will know you're gonna be on state, so.
So I just call
There's a
in
care
and I
bill.
wanna watch the Zoom meeting. How does that work?
If you're just a citizen, that's fine, but you as a board, as someone, a person on the board, when it isn't COVID, technically, you can only do it 3 times a year. And then, yes, it sounds like wherever you're joining from must, according to what Tess is saying, I don't know myself for positive, but must also be a public place on.
Well, that's what I was told. I just wanted to get verification. So that's all I got. Teresa?
You know, I'm used to being in my dining room where I could really spread out. Now I'm gonna kind of, I did go to the district meeting. One of the things, they did stress at the NACO website for keeping up to date with the ARC or the financial end of it. And I did make a copy, or Allison made a copy for herself from the one I gave you, Bob. I haven't read through it myself, but we were supposed to keep up with the NACO website and they'll try to keep us up to date.
So you got a copy of that?
The one, yeah.
You
Right.
You had one for each county.
Yeah, we could take 2 because Wabasha
It
didn't
didn't
come,
come.
but I only took 1.
So
we
you
made a
made, you
copy.
made copies of those?
Not for everybody. Allison made one for
Okay,
herself.
all right.
We will make copies.
Yep.
If you want to, I could do that too. Also, I had the broadband was a really big issue, and I see we got them on our workshop agenda, inviting to talk about that. And had the extension meeting, and we're gonna have a special meeting later this month to go over the budget and the memorandum of agreement between the counties and the extension. So I don't know the date yet, but
They threw out some dates there
yes,
that would work. Yep.
we'll meet with them. The budget at first glance looked pretty good, and we did find out that what we pay to extension, the state extension, they are the ones that determine what our people that we hire, like Rebecca and Michael, they'll make up the difference if they're at a higher wage scale than other counties. So that was kind of interesting to know. I had heard that before, but I didn't know how it worked. Lisa did a good job explaining
Yeah,
it.
and this is the first time I've been on extension before, and the first time I ever heard of that. This is they average out,
Mhm.
because they have a pool of money, they average out what, because of what they had before, the people that worked for them before were higher end people, been there a lot of years, then they had retirements and people retiring, so then they had new people coming in, which were coming in at a lower rate, so then they had room for some money to be moved around. So basically what it comes down to is that, like, for our share of to pay Michael is actually $48,000, but they put it in the finances as 42. So then that left a little room of a surplus. But of course, you know, they always find ways to use that. So, and they were talking about hiring an intern for Rebecca.
Yeah, which we do in the summer anyway, over fair time.
Yeah,
It's only like for 3-4 weeks.
yeah. But she was talking for having one.
Well,
for,
she would like to
have
have
one.
more,
Yeah.
I don't do more of her work than, but we've only done it because of fair time.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot there. But that was just Rebecca's idea.
Mm.
We'll discuss that.
Well, Lisa brought it forward too.
Well, yeah. So that's coming up, and I wanted to ask Carol, do we have to have that fee schedule approved on one of our meetings coming up? You know,
We'll have it on schedule for the 22nd.
okay, that's right. You know, my notes. on the fee schedule. Also, do we have a library meeting on their budget?
Not yet.
Okay. Just. And do we need to search for a new emergency manager? Or I know originally Rob Gross was it before we started moving it over to the sheriff department. So I think we could use a county department person. I mean, as a consideration.
The sheriff and I are going to meet next week and talk about possibilities and options.
Okay.
We may have a potential with to do some internal shuffling around with folks that person that's already certified has the certification, and we can see what we can do with current staff and current resources without having to. We haven't had that conversation yet.
One of the counties yesterday brought up that they moved their emergency manager under administration so that they could work closer with public health and human services, because that's this past year, that's where they were utilized a little bit more. Might be something to consider, not just having it under the sheriff department. I know that one county was happy that they did it for some reason.
Which county was that?
I don't remember which county, kind of sad.
So one that was on the other side
Side
of
of
the room.
us.
Yes.
I don't remember either.
I don't remember which county it was. Was it more? Steel, maybe?
Dodge or Steel?
I think it was maybe Dodge or Steel, because they were across from us.
I will contact them. The emergency manager at the role can cover, as you know, just a span of emergencies, whether it's a public health emergency, a pandemic, or a major after nature like a flood or even civil unrest they can be involved in. So that whole I would encourage a discussion of the whole on that position, but certainly we'll get a hold of contact Steel and Dodge and find out who it is.
Might even have it in the minutes in that meeting. And I think that's basically what I had.
Yeah, we had a highway department meeting on last Friday. I think things are going pretty good. Are you here yet, Ryan?
Yes.
How is our overall budget coming on that?
Well, we're still within, we have a decent amount of contingency money left. Track or pace of the building, the latest update is now showing move-in date in early to mid-December. So I think that date has slipped a little bit that way, but budget-wise, we're still within budget.
Sounds good to me.
We need to keep in mind too that contingency is a good amount of money. And
I would like to not touch it.
right, and a lot of those things were figured way high, like the fuel station, canopy. I believe the wash bay was figured high too, wasn't it?
The pressure washer.
Yeah.
Put it under on that pressure
Yeah.
washer.
So we're coming in under on a lot of things. The only major one was that plumbing one that we did here a few weeks ago. So I haven't heard of any surprises yet. So
Moving quite quickly here, I think. I got a watershed, Bear Creek watershed meeting today at 12:30 down at the Canoe Church. I hope so, because I'll be hungry by the time I get there. But and I had that one kind of an interesting phone call over the weekend. Somebody called me and wanted to know why we were going to close down all the prep centers. And I'm sitting there.
Wow, that's news to me.
That's news to
And
us.
I don't know where it came from. I didn't ask any questions. I just said, as far as I know, we aren't closing anything at the present time.
That's right.
That's all I
In
told.
the conversation, the last meeting I had with regard to the waste and recycle facilities, you're talking options. Do we go all roadside pickup and close the dump sites? Do we leave just a couple open for big materials so you got someplace to get rid of your mattresses and your appliances? Do we have each township take care of their own and have centralized locations for the stuff? Just conversation. I had Donna Specker was there, so that's probably where it came from, because she was asking questions and not quite understanding something. And then I had a call from Brownsville Township that lasted over half an hour about the concerns about what do we do, and our contract's coming up with our hauler, and they do roadside, and their contract is up in September, and they said, well, probably would be wise if we just did a 1-year extension instead of a 5-year extension until we figure out what, if anything, we're going to do. So the townships are talking. I want to get together with the townships. I've been trying to get a hold of Dick Marcos. I think he's the president of the county association. And I haven't had any success because I want to talk to him about garbage in that regard. But I also want to talk to him about the library deal and the money that the library Selco asked for the $40,000 increase for wages plus the 2.5% that they want in the regular budget. Because I would like all the townships to be present so we can talk about that. Since libraries are assessed, Carol, am I right on this? The library monies that the county pays towards Selco is just from the townships. The cities are separate.
The townships in Isom City and Brownsville City, they don't have their own libraries, so they're included in that.
Okay. So I am right that the cities themselves don't, but the townships and those two small cities.
Caledonia, Oakland, Houston, Preston, Spring Grove.
Carol, is there a state statute determining what we should be paying? Or
There is a statute that shows the minimum required amount.
And we're way over that,
We're way over it,
what is the minimum?
100.
around 100,000.
We get a hold of the town board members and meet them about this.
Yeah, well, it's a good idea. We should, I mean, 'cause that 40,000 is a big ask
Yes.
in one year.
They cried on that 25 cents we raised for solid waste, and it's $5 a house, so they're not going to be happy. I'm sure.
I don't think it's $5 a household. This is per capita.
Yeah. Per person.
Per person. Ooh.
But it would be based on the 1 acre, the same as the school districts, right?
House in 1 acre.
The house in 1 acre like the schools do. It's based on property value? Shouldn't be.
It's not a market value tax. It's a tax.
Say what I didn't hear.
It's not a market value tax, and that's what's determined for the schools, the house garage in 1 acre. Market value referendum rate. This is a tax capacity, and it's based on the tax capacity of the entire person.
I don't think that's fair. Only from the perspective that if I got a 1,000-acre farm, I'm paying a hell of a lot for the library compared to the back with the house in 1 acre.
Right. I would say to contact your legislature.
Well,
The state legislature sets all of those calculations.
but it's still not right.
A lot of things aren't great.
That's true.
There's a
All
lot of
right.
things about our property.
We do have to deal with that, and I think the 40,000 increase is excessive for our budget,
I agree.
our county budget.
Well, it would be passed on to the townships.
Well-
We get that from the townships too.
But there are constituents.
I know that, but I mean,
I know.
all I'm saying is I want the townships to be aware and have a say about it before we do anything.
So in your meetings, Bob, with, or you only had one, solid-based, there was townships involved?
I've had two. And McCresson Township was at the first one, Caledonia Township was at the second.
Oh, you had two meetings?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there was only McCresson Township and Jerry Martell was at the second meeting, so there wasn't a whole lot of input.
So there wasn't a meeting.
At 2 Wednesdays in a row.
I take it Teresa didn't make that.
That's okay.
They didn't communicate properly. Anyways, that's where that's at. One interesting note from the meeting the other day with District 9,
Yesterday.
NCIT was talking about insurance and whatnot, and then she got going about jails and the cost and the liability and the issues on that. And Fillmore County asked, should we even consider building a jail, or should we just transport all of our people to someplace else and let them handle the liability?
They actually said that?
They asked that question.
Because I had asked Mitch about where they were at on that, and it sounds like they're getting close to making a recommendation. And so it sounds like it's gonna be a done deal, they're gonna build a jail.
That's what it's. This was the question because of yesterday's meeting. Should we even consider building a jail? They've got a plan, I think, put together for a 90-day facility, but how many beds, he wasn't sure and whatnot. I asked him. It might have been a tongue-in-cheek question. I
Well,
don't
yeah.
know. Anyway, what else?
Well, I can see where that MCIT with a lot of claims, I mean, I've been reading, we had 200 officers in Minneapolis that resigned because of PTSD. I mean, so you can see why this is gonna be a ballooning effect.
Don't have any more discussion. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got to. There's public comment. I didn't ask the question. I'm sorry. Apparently got something to say, Carol?
No, I was just pointing out that you
Yeah,
didn't say that there was, asked about any public comment.
Is there any public comment? I don't know of anybody online. Donna, is there anybody online? I can't see who's up there.
No, there's not.
Okay. So I'm assuming there's no public comment.
Should we make one correction in the minutes? Because you went on, we voted on that, you sustained on the Welch. You said it was 4-1, it should have been 4-0. You can't vote.
An abstention is the same as a no.
Is that it? Okay, I didn't know that.
Okay, that's fine. That's cool. Good enough. So now your motions are activated. Got a motion and a second to adjourn. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.